Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Caucus Meeting of the Englewood Cliffs Mayor and Council. Today is November 8th, 2018. It's 6:35 p.m. Call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, have a roll call.
Mayor Franjak,
Here.
Councilperson Zaversa,
Here.
E. Park, here. O. O'Shea, yes. M. Park,
Yes.
Wu, Borough Attorney,
Present.
Borough Administrator,
Present.
Public Works Superintendent,
Present.
and Borough Clerk. Everyone's present, Mayor, except Councilwoman O.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you please read into the record the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Adequate notice of this meeting was given to the press and posted as required. Date and time of this meeting was legally given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act. This notice is on file with the municipal clerk and posted on the bulletin board. Minutes of this meeting will be made available to the public upon the completion of typing and proofreading by the municipal clerk.
Thank you. We changed the order a bit because I wanted to have the new business up front so that the public could comment and we go into closed session. The first thing up is,
Before you go
Go ahead.
there, Mayor, I have item number 8 to add, which is just a notation about the best practices inventory for next month.
okay, the first thing up is, I wanted to select a date for a special meeting at the end of November for a closed session, negotiation with Officer in Charge, Lieutenant David Hill, and any other potential matters. Officer Hill has been in charge for, just about a month. And
October 11th.
October 11th now, and I just wanted to have an opportunity for Mayor and Council to sit with him and get to know him a bit better. I've gotten to know him over the last month. I think he's doing a fantastic job in difficult circumstances. Very proud of how he's taken over and boosted morale and also discipline in the Englewood Cliffs Police Department. So with that said, I was going to propose November 29th at 8 p.m., if that works for everyone. Can you check your calendars, please? You're not? Okay. Uh, 29th. Okay, well, how about the 27th? Or 29th during the day? All right, does the 27th work? An evening?
When is Thanksgiving?
22nd.
Oh, okay, 22nd.
It's early this year. 27th, everyone? Is that okay? Sorry? Okay, well, we could... Ellen, you were good. William, you're good. Mark, are you good on the 27th?
Are we talking about the 27th or the 28th?
27th. Ed, were you available that week? How about 28th? All right, 28th? Mark, are you good on 28th?
What day?
28th.
Yeah, I'm okay now.
Okay.
I'm okay the whole week.
All right, so let's do November 28th at 8 p.m. It's subject to Lieutenant Hill's availability as well.
Want me to be here?
Yes, we'll go into closed session now. Next thing up was, I wanted to create an ad hoc committee for affordable housing, just to assist with the workload that's coming in now and get the council more involved, along with people who have special knowledge of the last 12 months of what's happened and where we stand. So I'll be proposing that, I guess.
I'd like to speak on this.
Should I do that at the regular meeting?
Well, let me lay the groundwork, because I did not draft the resolution yet.
Well, it's not a resolution, I'm just...
No, there's a resolution that is the creation of an ad hoc committee.
Right, but the mayor is doing this.
The appointment is on the agenda, that's
Right,
correct.
but that's without consent of the council.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be with consent of council. So, an ad hoc committee is sort of an informal committee. They will not have meetings, there will not be open public meetings, they will not have meetings. They're generally not subject to Oprah, or they're not expected to produce any paperwork that would be subject to Oprah. But if they do, of course, we would look at it at that time. What I'm proposing to you guys is 3 members. And I suggested the borough administrator as one of those members, because then that makes sure that there's a contact person within the borough. I suggested a citizen, and then I suggested a council member. So if any of you are interested, the mayor does want to make those appointments tonight. But for the resolution for creating, I am suggesting a citizen, the borough administrator, and a council member. You don't put names into the resolution, okay? Again, this would be the duties that would be expected. Liaison between the council, the litigation council, or any of the affordable housing council, and the mayor and council. So when the affordable housing lawyer has questions, they can address it to one of those 3 ad hoc members, and the ad hoc member can communicate it to the mayor and council, or if the ad hoc member happens to be your borough administrator, that's fine. So they would act as a liaison between the attorneys and the mayor and council. In addition, assist the council where necessary in gathering documents that are open public records, in providing past information that may be necessary for the litigation that's coming up, or in settlement negotiations, anything like that. So assist the assigned attorneys. Also expected to report to the mayor and council orally, whether it be in closed, if appropriate, or in open session, but to regularly report to the mayor and council what the activities of the litigation lawyers are that we need to know. Of course, the litigation lawyers, they can also come to closed session. We don't necessarily need the ad hoc member. But for those periods of times where you need that, you will then have 3 different members that could come to the mayor and council and report. It would be such other duties as are related to that, but no decision-making will be made by the ad hoc committee or by any individual member, because decision-making is reserved for the mayor and council.
I have a question.
Well, can I just finish laying the groundwork, and then we can have a discussion? In addition, an ad hoc committee is created for the purpose of a singular task. In this scenario, the task is the litigation entitled In Re Borough of Englewood Cliffs regarding affordable housing. That's the litigation that we are talking about, and the ad hoc committee will serve until the task is completed. So I'm expecting that if there is a trial, or a settlement, or an appeal after either of those things might occur, that the ad hoc committee would continue its duties. So that's your basic scenario for the ad hoc committee, and that's the proposed resolution that I have not yet drafted. So now discussion.
That sounds wicked.
Okay?
We're gonna have people, so we're gonna have someone on this council, all the information, we yelled at all the time, how it's private, privileged, can't discuss it outside, confidential, and now we have somebody from outside this council. What's wrong with the council? We got 6 people here.
Uh-huh.
Right, why all of a sudden does it change when we had to call it
Okay, one at a time.
Why would we need an outside committee for that? We have 6 qualified people here, certainly competent enough to handle that.
Well, if history predicts the future, the 6 here are not going to do all the work that's needed to be done, and quite frankly, there's there are people here who are much more versed than you and I, Ed, in terms of what's happened over the last year.
They're not on the council.
Or,
This is privilege.
no, but I'm
Someone
a...
gets in there and
No,
don't
no,
have it. You need to...
That's right, they'd be subject to... No, you're missing the point. There's two issues. There's getting the work done and then being confidential about the work. The confidentiality, I don't have a problem with. They're all subject to confidentiality.
Subject to fiduciary, the resolution will provide...
It sounds like you guys already
Yeah,
have
I can see
people
that.
that want to be on the...
Well, I did. You're one of them, Gloria, Ellen, and you're one of them.
Well, I'm opposed to having...
You don't want to be on a committee?
I want to be on the committee.
You should be on the committee.
Yeah.
So we'll put you
You
on.
need a resident.
Well, you're not going to do the work if history predicts the future.
You know what?
At least,
Appointed Carol quit, that's the end of the story. Now appoint somebody else. Why now change things?
you're jumping at this without even knowing all the facts of who would be appointed.
Okay, well...
You know what, now you're gonna go right up to borrow for more liability.
Yeah, all right, well, I'm just stating what's going to happen tonight, and then,
Well, the other thing is, you cannot, this is a complete waste of time too, because all ad hoc committees, all committees are gonna be,
We have a-
dissolved by the end of the year. So-
we have a trial in January.
I'm sorry, that was your ordinance back in 2016, dissolving all, committees.
No, I'm telling you that we need to get work done this year. But
You can't do that.
Separate your dislike of everything from the actual requirement that we have to get work done.
Why don't
Okay.
you just call it what it is, Mario?
What
Okay?
do you want to call it?
Instead of appointing somebody else, now you're trying to put your own... Knowing that-
No,
Come on.
the two of you are not my people, for sure, but I want you on that committee.
Exactly. If that was the case, you would have appointed us before.
We don't need an...
Okay.
Okay.
You're going to do the work? You're going to do the work? Really? You can't even get to a meeting on time. All right, let's go. So the next thing is Whitty Field repairs and renovation. Look, this is coming back. This is coming back. It's all on video, don't worry. I know, you'll put a collage together, you'll send it to the town, you'll put nice music.
Space at the back, that was a good one.
That, I had nothing to do with anything. All I know is that my image and likeness was spread all over town with, I guess it was the best of Mario hits, right? So, okay, all right. Move on. So Whitty Field repairs, I don't care what you all say, we're going to do something, next year. The children of this town want the field fixed, they want the park fixed, the parents want it. This is not a political issue, don't make it that. Immediately, there's some repairs that need to be done for the opening day. Let me finish speaking. The infield of the Little League field needs to be fixed, that's about $15,000 to $20,000. I met with the Little League board about this. They told me what's been happening, there's been a lot of bad hops, the balls are hitting kids in the head, in the face, in the back of the head, in the shoulder, the leg. You need to talk when you're asked to talk, or when you're recognized. So then the other thing we want to do is, what I want to do, and I'm hoping you'll join me, is renovate. We need new fields, we need a band shell, we need pavilions, we need lights, we need at least one, I don't care how big it is, but one little patch of turf, so at least after it rains, we could still have kids playing. It doesn't have to be big, but just something where kids could just run around. And, that's what we're expected to be doing here for the town. We're a disgrace in terms of athletic facilities and parks. Not only the rest of the county, but the rest of the state. Impoverished areas of the state have better facilities than we have, and it's just not acceptable. So that's one thing that I really want to push forward. Next thing, very important, I met with the school board back in September. There's been concern about school safety. I won't get into any specifics, but we are going to have a request for an armed school security officer. My desire, and they agree with me, is that it be part of the person be part of the Englewood Cliffs Police Department. What we're contemplating doing there is hiring at least 2 new police officers, and all of our police officers that will be trained for school safety. Will rotate people through each school during the school year. The rest of the time, those officers will be out on patrol. That's big picture. The finances haven't been discussed yet, but you know what I would want to do there, and you know what the school would want to do there, so we'll have to find a compromise on finances. But this is something that they asked for. Jennifer Brower sent me, I don't think I got this, as a public statement that we received from the school board. Explain it, yeah, that's what you're asking me for. Everybody got it yesterday. It was sent yesterday. No, you get that.
Is it dated?
It's not dated, but I received it yesterday, and it was after their last, I guess they had a school board meeting last week, or this week, I'm not sure. So the thought was of having armed security. They talked about a lot of different options. My view is that if anyone's going to carry a gun in a law enforcement capacity in Englewood Cliffs, it should all be done through the Englewood Cliffs Police Department, no one else. Chief Chaffee and I attended that meeting together back on September 5th. And I believe we were in agreement on this. Next issue, traffic issues, trying to figure out the impact of LG's new building on residents, especially on Van Nostrand. Andy Hippolyte was working with their engineer to provide some relief in terms of people living on Van Nostrand being able to head north without having to make a left on Hudson Terrace. So I'll have more to report on that at the next meeting, and also trying to work out something with the Palisade Interstate Parkway to finally create that I guess it'd be an on-ramp close to CNBC there, so people could just get out of the middle of our town and just jump on the highway, which is where they're going anyway. Through the old, yeah, that's the thought. Next up is discussion of disciplinary...
Mayor, before you start, I'm going to come off the table.
That's fine.
I don't want to be part of it.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Do you want to, Emily, do you want to handle that?
Yes. So, no, so that's the first order of business that we'll talk about, and you'll have to let me speak in order, and then there will be a discussion. First off, I'll let you know that I did speak with Lizette before about her vacating to the table, and later on, when there is a resolution, her leaving the dais, and that's an appropriate way to handle it. Secondly, there is no rice notice requirement. There is a recent case by the Supreme Court entitled Kane, Teachers versus Morrell. It is a Supreme Court decision. It was decided in June. I was aware of the appellate division decision and the lower court decision. The Supreme Court overruled, let me finish. The Supreme Court overruled the appellate division, and the decision was that there was no rice notice necessary when you are discussing something in open public session, and that is what we are doing now. If there were deliberations in closed session, there is still no rice notice required, because you are allowed to deliberate in closed session under the Open Public Meetings Act. You are allowed to have closed sessions with your attorney for advisory, consultative, and deliberative without a rice notice, because you are deliberating. In addition, so that has been the decision, that there was no rice notice served upon Ms. Duffy with respect to this matter. Now, despite the fact that we are in open public session, we are still being careful not to discuss personnel information of a personal nature. You have all received a copy of a list of potential specifications and potential charges. That is a working document. It is for you to discuss, and it is for the attorneys thereafter if it is approved, if charges are desired to be preferred. The working document is not subject to Oprah, and it will be revised into a set of charges and specifications if that is approved. Before we begin on the content of the charges and specifications, again, I want to warn you that we should not be discussing details about this. The resolution will seek to prepare and serve the charges upon Lizette Duffy, and submit to the DCA. Briefly, she is a tenured clerk. At the time some of these charges occurred, she was also the borough administrator. All tenured clerks, disciplinary matters are dealt with through the Department of Community Affairs, who may or may not send it to the Office of Administrative Law. They decide. So there's no decision-making by the governing body on the charges themselves, the outcome of the charges. You do make the decision to prefer the charges, and you do make the decision as to what discipline penalty you may want to seek from the charges, but you do not make the decision as to sustaining the specifications or imposing the penalty. Department of Community Affairs does that.
Just to be clear, rather than prefer, it's proper.
No, it's prefer.
Really?
It's called preferring disciplinary
Okay.
charges, but
Mhm.
in any event, proper is when you're making
No.
proper of evidence. This is
No.
prefer charges. It just means bringing charges to the DCA. I do want to reiterate, and I have talked with this with certain council members, there is an issue of conflict of interest. If you read my confidential working document sent today, you will see that in specifications under paragraph C, there is a tape recording, and there is a discussion which involves both Councilman Ed Aversa and Councilwoman Gloria O. And as a result of that conversation, Councilwoman Gloria O. did in fact take some action in an open public meeting. These are not charges against either of you. Today. Okay. Would you like a copy? Did you not see that? Okay. The other council members did print their own copies, but here is a copy for you. And Councilwoman O, that's for you. That is a confidential document, and again, working document. Please do not distribute that to anyone, including the borough clerk. Okay. The conflict of interest is apparent with respect to Councilwoman O and Councilman Aversa with respect to Section B. And that is my opinion, and I respectfully request that the two of you recuse with respect to that charge. In addition, there are charges in Section A having to do with the draft minutes prepared by the borough clerk recently for the recent council meeting of October 10, 2018. And you can see the specifications with respect to that. And I am concerned and express that there may be a conflict of interest for those who were involved in the making of the attempted motion and attempted second of the motion to dismiss all charges against Chief Chiaffi. I believe that... Okay. With respect to Section A and the draft minutes of October 10, 2018, there are charges proposed with respect to the borough clerk, with respect to how those draft minutes read and the action she took in distributing those draft minutes. I believe that Councilwoman O, Councilman Aversa, and Councilwoman Ellen Park are conflict of interest, because you were involved in the motion and second, and there was no vote taken on those motions. Hold on. There was no vote taken on those motions, and I believe that it's fairly reasonable to assume that since you were involved in the underlying action, you have a conflict of interest with respect to making a decision as to whether charges should be preferred. If you choose not to recuse on that Section A or on that Section B, I believe that your failure to recuse may be challenged. It is certainly not up to me to require you to recuse, but I am giving you my opinion. Yes, and let me
You're
finish.
saying because I made a motion to vote, I'm conflicted?
I'm saying a lot more than that.
I think she's saying that
I'm saying a lot more
it was
than that.
choreographed with you. But I understand on information and belief that you're also a dentist that practices here in town, and you're also Lizette Duffy's dentist, so you have a financial interest in it.
So,
You have a financial interest.
Mayor, please let me,
You and I could have we'll bait the hooks together.
No, it's not funny. This is this is a serious matter.
It was my right to vote.
No,
okay, so,
you have a, you,
one at a time, please.
no, you all create your own conflicts, okay?
He creates a conflict, Mario? Why is it that for the whole time that she's been the borough attorney, that she's never raised conflict issues for you and him and...
Because I don't have any.
Carol.
Because I don't have any.
That is not true.
Judge order that Carol should not be voting. Yeah.
This meeting,
There is no...
it's probably hard for you all to believe this, but this meeting is not about Carol.
Okay, excuse me. I need to just make a record. I understand.
To do the right thing.
Okay, sir,
Order.
I am giving my opinion. Sir, I am giving my opinion.
Order.
And I told this, I indicated this before, so I discussed the conflict between Ed and Gloria with respect to Section B. I've discussed the conflict of the three of you, Ellen, Ed, and Gloria, with respect to Section A. I am also going to state that if there is an attorney, if there is a doctor-patient relationship, it inevitably involves a financial remuneration, and that is the most serious of conflicts of interest. And it is I don't know, because Councilman Aversa will not tell us, but if a doctor-patient relationship existed between Councilman Aversa and Lizette Duffy, that is a conflict of interest of the most serious kind. That's all I'm saying, and I believe if that exists or existed, you should recuse Councilman Aversa on anything having to do with Lizette Duffy. Now, respectfully, I have opined on conflicts of interest with respect to Republican members, and there is no court order that ordered Carol McMorrow not to vote. There is a consent, excuse me.
A sole order stipulation, which has the same
Okay,
amount.
please, you're interrupting me.
Order.
You're characterizing it improperly.
That's not
And
true.
it-
Order.
Yes, you are. It is a consent order entered in a litigation for a very specific period of time and a very specific person, Chief Chiaffi. So there was, and by the way, before that consent order, there was never a time where Carol McMorrow voted on Chief Chiaffi.
Really?
During-
It wouldn't matter, she voted on, right?
Yes, but that's not about Chief Chiaffi,
Yes,
right?
it is.
No, it's allegations as to the three of you. And by the way, she didn't vote on anything having to do
You know
with
what, we'll...
the Eastwood matter. All they did was appoint counsel for council members. That's not a conflict of
It's
interest.
definitely a conflict.
Okay.
Let's just
Not
bring,
a conflict of
let's do this.
interest.
Let's let you finish.
Anyway, those are the preliminary discussions with respect to item number 6 on new business for caucus. The second matter is to look at the specifics without disclosing confidential personnel information that are itemized in the document sent to you today. Again, a working document that is confidential. There are 4 sections. The first section, and I'm just going to read the title of the section, specifications with respect to, multiple specifications with respect to draft minutes of the regular meeting of the governing body held on October 10, 2018. Section B, specifications, multiple, regarding tape 78 made by Chief Chiaffi in the office of the borough clerk. At least part of that tape was in the office of the borough clerk. There were multiple conversations occurring on this tape at different times and places. Section B has to do with one particular conversation, and that is the one that discusses Ed, Eddie, and Gloria. So you can see that specification. Section C is specifications, multiple, about release of confidential documents, and you can see what I am talking about. Chief Chiaffi obtained some confidential unredacted documents. We know this because Chief Chiaffi gave those confidential documents in his paper discovery in his own litigation. One of them is the document that the chief and the clerk are discussing in tape 78 in section B of this working set of charges. Section D, specifications, multiple, for other multiple recorded conversations between Chief Chiaffi and the borough clerk. Some of those conversations are instituted by the clerk herself rather than the chief. Some of those conversations are led by the clerk rather than the chief. And all of them have to do with topics, as I list there, I'm not going to state, but as I list there, that are potentially against the interest of the borough and causing financial damage to the borough. All of these are potential. No decision is being made today as to sustaining or not sustaining these charges. We are merely looking at whether or not the charges should be brought, served, and sent to the DCA. The last section of the document, working document given to you today, tells you under what authority the charges can be made of the specifications. There are violations alleged as to borough code provisions, as to state statutes, as to borough personnel policy manual provisions, breach of fiduciary duties, breach of confidentiality duties, breach of the clerk's oath of office, breach of the administrator's oath of office for the ones where she was actually the administrator as well as the clerk, breach of clerk's duties under the clerk's desk reference code, and breach of Robert's Rules of Order in preparation of the minutes and in Section A. Again, these are potential charges and potential specifications. I am not saying or recommending or asking the council to make any decision on the validity or invalidity of the charges. I am not asking the council, I'm not presenting this to the council, rather, for you to make a decision. The proposed resolution is for preparation and service of charges as to Lizette Duffy and submission of same to the Department of Community Affairs. The charges are outlined for you here, but will be filled in with more detail in the actual charging document. This may not be the end in all of what the ultimate result would be. The Labor Council was consulted on this, Special Labor Council.
How can we vote on things that are even in?
Okay, no, I'm not asking, you're not listening to me.
And I think we'll
Expanding
taking a vote on whether
the
or not-
charging document, the charging document will expand with factual information from what you have here. You have a complete set of information here to vote for preparation and service of charges and submission of same to the Department of Community Affairs. That's the only decision-making you need to make based upon what is here. Of course,
Horses in to put them before the cart?
no, this is not horses before the cart. This is the appropriate process that we are following. You all will have a vote. If you believe the process is improper, you can state that in your vote. We are following due process, we are following the rights requirements, and we are following the obligation to maintain confidentiality of personnel records. One other thing, the council members that did take the time to come and listen to tapes were Mary O'Shea and Councilman Park. They did listen to tape 78, at least part of it, And certainly, with respect to that, they have additional knowledge that I have not provided to you. But certainly, there have been many opportunities for listening to the... Okay. The tape cannot, you know that the tape cannot be given to you.
Right, I tried 3
Many-
times to schedule it
Okay.
for you, and including tomorrow morning when Ed had apparently made an appointment with you at 10 a.m., and now you're like, sorry,
No.
I can't do it
Okay.
now, we can't move anything
Okay.
around.
You're mischaracterizing.
Really,
Okay.
just read the email?
Yes, you can.
Go ahead, actually, because I read them as well.
Ed actually didn't give me a time for his requested meeting on Friday, tomorrow, until today. You didn't actually say morning, you said Friday. But regardless, it doesn't matter. I didn't hear from any of you again, yesterday, today, and today for tomorrow. I understand, you asked me 2 days ago, or yesterday.
2 days, I asked.
No, you asked me yesterday, can I come on Friday?
Yeah.
Ed asked me a week
I
and a half.
asked you last week if I can come
Okay,
on
yeah.
another day.
You
and then
asked
said
me
you couldn't.
for election day. I had other obligations already set.
And I asked you if I could do the Friday before, and you said, sorry, it was too much short notice, right?
Because
So I'm
that was...
don't say that we didn't try.
Well, why don't you do this? Before you leave tonight...
Months.
Hold on.
You could listen to the tape.
Why don't you do this?
That's not true.
Tonight, before you leave tonight,
That's actually like...
Yeah.
figure out a day and a time that you could all show up and listen to these, okay? Because, quite frankly, the public is looking at you saying, like, what is wrong with these people? Can't you figure out?
Let's work it out. Let's work it out. Let's...
And by the way,
Those little sound bites don't get you anywhere, because, quite frankly, I read those emails, and Anne Marie is 100% right. Are you done with your presentation?
I'm done with my presentation
Okay.
on Lizette.
Okay.
This is a discussion period now, okay? There will be a resolution made orally, a motion made orally, presumably, if it gets seconded. There will then be a roll call and a vote. And I told you what the resolution will be. I'll repeat it. Preparation and service of charges and submission to the DCA. And the discussion period is now. So, there you go.
Yes.
So regarding the rice thing,
Yes,
I think, my understanding of that thing, which was a few months ago, if I'm not mistaken,
yes,
was supposed to be for a group, not an individual.
uh-huh.
So how does that apply to an individual?
Well,
That's the way I read it.
okay, I understand, yes, I understand. I have a difference of opinion, and I've gone over it with, the labor attorney as well. And the, decision is pretty broad. If you're doing something in open public meeting, you don't need to give a rights notice.
And that's what we're doing here.
That's why we're not enclosed.
So just, everyone should bear in mind that, all our employees have fiduciary duties to the borough. The recordings that are referenced, and this is for the public's benefit, the recordings that are referenced were made by Chief Chaffee. No one at this table made those recordings. Chief Chaffee made those recordings. Now, some people on those recordings knew they were being recorded, others didn't. Amory listed 38 data points in her presentation and 9 governing laws, rules, oaths, and policies. Again, we are not judging. We are just referring or preferring on to the governmental entity that does the judging. Okay? Is that accurate?
Yes. Though I didn't count the data points.
I just counted them. Approximately 38.
Okay. All right, let me just make a note. I'm done with item number 6.
Okay.
At the point in the resolutions where we will entertain that, which I believe is, resolution number 251. Lizette will come off the dais. The vote will be called. I will record the vote. And, the title is amended to say, authorize the preparation and service of the charges. That's the title to resolution 251.
Okay, it's in there.
No, it says preparation and submission.
Okay.
Right.
No, preparation and service of charges, and then submission.
I'm a little confused. So what was wrong with the minutes?
They're in the data points.
But I read the minutes, they're accurate.
Okay.
No, they're not accurate.
But they're not accurate. They're wrong, and
It was inaccurate then.
It's in that document.
Emery, would you repeat that, please?
I mean, basically, and this is not a breach of confidentiality. Right, right. So, these are draft minutes. They've not been approved yet, obviously. But, the document that I gave you does itemize the things that are in there, yes. The working document that I've given you for consideration of the limited motion that we are doing today. Whether or not the characterization as in the minutes is not for your decision. That is part of the charges to the DCA. There is an audio tape of the mayor and council meeting of October 10th, 2018. And the draft minutes do not comport with what the audio tape actually shows. And there are many reasons, there were many reasons why the motion that was made and seconded was an...
It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, but the fact that it happened...
It's on video, and now you're trying to interpret it a different way.
No, I'm sorry, I'm not interpreting, no.
Order. One at a time. One at a time. Emery has the floor.
First of all, I am not doing anything. I'm merely listing the facts, number one. Number two, I am not mischaracterizing from what is in the audio. The fact of the matter is, no vote occurred. The motion was not recognized. There was a motion and a second, and no vote occurred. Period.
No,
I am sorry.
there was no roll call asked for by the mayor.
Judy,
You walked out.
they are...
We adjourned the meeting. The meeting, the meeting was adjourned.
Okay, it has, time out. It has nothing to do with the adjournment of the meeting. It has to do with the fact that the motion and the second is not a vote. And the motion itself was defective under many reasons. However, we are not here to decide whether the motion was improper or not. The charge that you are entertaining is whether or not the draft minutes properly characterize what occurred. There was no vote. And there was no call for... I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry. You can read Robert's rules and know what a vote is. A vote,
Okay.
not a motion, and a second occurred.
Just,
That's all I'm telling you.
So biased.
It's not biased.
Condemn a borough employee.
we're not condemning anyone.
We're not condemning
Bring
anyone.
her up on charge or whatever you want to call this, is to me not fair, only because we did call for her.
We did? I didn't know.
And that's what the minutes reflect. Whether it was adequate or not is...
That's not what the minutes reflect.
But
No,
Okay, here-
it's not up to us.
Here's the thing, that your motion wasn't even on the agenda. The public didn't have a chance to comment on it. It was improper, it wasn't recognized, there was no vote taken.
I understand what you're saying.
And by the way, you'll also have the opportunity to answer those questions, as a sworn witness.
Okay, you don't have to threaten me, Mario, it doesn't work with me, you know.
That's not a threat, you'll have the opportunity. You'll have the opportunity. That's okay. You'll have your opportunity, you'll have a Bible to swear on.
You're going to bring a nice little
And
spatula
you
to
have
make
started
it
everything.
All right, so if we're done with item number 6, Borough Clerk can come back to...
Okay, the next one up was, discussion of disciplinary charges dated November 20th, 2017, and hearing officers' report of recommendations as to Michael Chaffee for insubordination in failing to follow a directive to use accumulated time benefits, and we'll follow this by a closed session deliberation.
That's
Anything
correct.
else?
No, yes, I need to make a record. Again, there was no rights notice to Chief Chiaffi. The letter that the mayor issued was dated May 7, 2017. It directed use of accumulated time by Chief Chiaffi as of the next day. Chief Chiaffi did not comply with that letter. Charges were brought dated November 20, 2017, and a decision has been made, a recommendation has been made by the hearing officer, Alan Roth. There was no testimony in this case. The hearing officer determined and the parties agreed that it was a legal issue. So he took briefing, he had the correspondence and the positions of the parties, and it was submitted on the papers, and a decision was reached. You had that decision. You've had it for a long time. It was issued circa April 9th, 2018, and it finds a certain it finds that the charges should be sustained, and that recommends, and that there should be a penalty imposed that's recommended. From here, we've done this before. Procedurally, we are in an open session where we are discussing that what we will deliberate about, not we, because I don't say during deliberations, what you will deliberate about in closed session. It is on the closed session agenda, item number 6 of the closed session. So right now, all I'm telling you is, we know what we're going to be discussing. The purpose of your closed session will be to have attorney advice on how the format of your deliberations should be, and your decision-making process will come out. We'll deliberate inside. You guys are going to debate it and deliberate inside. You should be determining 2 things based upon the recommendations. Should the charges be sustained? And what should be the penalty if they are sustained? So your resolution will be, just like we did once before with Chief Chiappi, accept, reject, or modify the hearing officer's recommendations.
Amory,
Yes.
can we go into closed session now? There's somebody here that we need to talk to in closed session.
Mayor,
Do you have to open to the public first?
hold on. Yes, you do. You have to open to the public. So
First?
yes,
Okay.
yes. So I understand that someone's here and you'll have to be just as patient. I'm done with item number 7. I think everyone understands we've been through this process before. Does anyone have any questions before you do entertain your deliberations and vote on item number 7? Okay.
I have a legal question, but should it be out here or should it be in
Legal, I'm going to go in for advisory, and then I'm going to leave when you have deliberation, so wait until inside for legal. Okay, for Councilwoman O's advice, I'm just telling you, we added item number 8, which is a notation on the best practices inventory of the borough. It is being finalized. It will be distributed to all of you for review. You are required to discuss it at an open public meeting. It will be on the agenda in December. So I'm making a notation now. The clerk has a resolution already prepared, and your discussion will occur in December, and you will have a resolution. Also, Councilwoman O, a special meeting was set for item number 1 in our new business discussion tonight. The special meeting is Wednesday, November 28th. Mayor, I believe you said 8:30 p.m.?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock p.m.?
You were late to the meeting.
Yeah, it's Wednesday, November 28th at 8 p.m. That's it for the new business. Mayor, you do have to do a public portion.
Okay, can I have a motion to open to the public?
Second.
All in favor? If there's anyone from the public who wishes to be heard, please let me recognize you. I recognize you. Come up to the microphone, state your name and address, and tell us what's on your mind.
Lauren Eastwood, 4 Willow Drive. I have several points that I want to make concerning the discussion so far. No one on the Democratic side has discussed with ECRO any of the campaign advertisements, and no one on the Democratic side has discussed with CTE any of the Republican campaign advertisements, social media postings, anything. So at the very best, Councilwoman Ellen Park had no basis whatsoever for making an accusation that the mayor was involved in the decision-making process on the social media, and at the worst, she intentionally lied. And you can wipe the stupid smirk off.
I go with the former and the latter.
Thank you for really coming out and being, who you are. Thank you.
Well, she's right.
Yeah, Laura's right.
So we are crystal clear. The mayor had absolutely no role in the preparation of the advertisements for either ECRO or CTE. In fact, the mayor first found out that ECRO was doing a social media campaign 5 minutes after the first advertisement was released to the public, when I called him to tell him that he would be seeing it. He had no knowledge of the content prior to the advertisements being released and no involvement. And I would be very, very careful about making those allegations, because
Coming from you who mailed letters to people in town and denied it, right?
I have not
Yes.
denied it.
You know, I could have sent all those, the envelopes that you sent to people in town, make copies and send it out to everyone.
The council is not to harass the residents.
Okay, this is,
I'm
you're very credible, Lauren.
You are not very credible.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to do that. I will send those letters out.
Can you stop?
Please do.
Please
Yeah,
stop.
okay.
Ellen,
Right there.
Ellen,
She gave
please-
me permission.
Please control yourself.
I
Please.
will be sending out and taking an advertisement in the Korean press to put the court order that ordered that the three of you couldn't vote because of a conflict of interest. The Korean press isn't taking anyone's advertising. They've got problems. And thank you for putting on tape that the Korean press is selectively accepting advertising. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I'm gonna send everybody's video of you just saying what you just said to all the three people down.
Can you stop, please? Don't harass the residents.
Ridiculous.
We're
You called me stupid on tape and you just...
we are here to listen.
Yeah.
See, here's
We are here to listen.
Here's the thing,
Business.
council members. You can't silence a member of the public.
If you allow...
No, I'm sorry. No. She has a
I've been
First
called
Amendment-
much worse.
She has a First Amendment right to speak. With respect to council members, respectfully, all I think the mayor is asking for is decorum. He's not telling you not to speak or to respond to the citizen. It's decorum that we're asking about, rather than threats to the citizen. That's it. That's it, Councilwoman Park.
No threat.
No one's telling you not to speak. Just the way you're doing it and decorum would like to be heard.
Thank you.
Number two, the only council members who have been subject to an order, not a stipulation, a so-ordered stipulation, an actual order decided on by a judge, not a stipulation, that they couldn't vote because they had a conflict of interest, were Councilwoman Gloria O., Councilwoman Ellen Park, and Councilman Edward Aversa. And that decision was handed down by Judge Christine Farrington. So we are crystal clear on who got the order. Number three, I find it very amusing to watch the three of you worry about conflicts, when the last time you were in control, you didn't worry about that at all. It should have concerned you greatly that Joe Parisi was involved in any discussions involving Boswell Engineering, since he and Stephen Boswell are business partners in Connect One Bank. But you never bothered with that. Should have concerned you greatly that Joe Parisi was involved in any discussions with the Englewood Library, because Frank Huddle and Joe Parisi are business partners in Connect One Bank. It should have concerned you greatly when your borough attorney was representing...
Not me.
Not you, Carter Carson. So we're crystal clear on who I'm talking about. Carter Carson was representing Blanche Binder and her husband in the B.B. Kahn lawsuit, because the borough had a potential third-party claim against the Binders, which was never asserted, probably because Carter was representing the Binders. Finally, I would like to remind the council that you are in possession of a letter indicating issues that I had with prior minutes.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to be heard? Yes.
clear, I was never on council when Joe Brazy was in there.
Carol McMorrow, 49 Summit Street. We're not even 48 hours past an election, and you guys, I don't know if you understand how bad you look. This is an embarrassment. Ellen, you're laughing. Gloria, you're shaking it. I'm sitting...
Honestly, the people have spoken and they disagree, so, whatever you say,
Okay.
just say it, that's all.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I wasn't going in that direction. My point was that we're not even 48 hours past an election, and you guys haven't learned anything on how to treat people and how to speak, okay? And I would not, by the way, Ellen, I was not going to go in that direction. The town did speak, and they're right down the middle. I hate to break it to you. It's about a 30-40 vote win. Nothing to brag about, okay? So, nothing to brag about. Excuse me. Don't, please, Ellen, I'm up here being respectful. You need to learn some manners. Please. You're an elected official, and please act like one. I'm sitting back there and watching you, and you're fighting over things that you shouldn't be fighting about. You are here to serve the public and the residents, and now the residents that just voted you guys into power, and you're fighting like children. I can't understand for the life of me why you continually want to attack me when I am not on the council any longer. Ellen, I never voted on anything that I had a conflict on. I did not have a court order by a judge that made a decision. It was a consent order, and we settled because I wanted to stop the spending of frivolous litigation taxpayer money caused by your 3 Democratic operatives. I have never voted on anything having to do with Chief Chaffee. There was no necessity for that lawsuit. But your Democratic operatives felt the need to harass me and bring that lawsuit and waste the taxpayers' money so you can then advertise it in your campaign. We'll talk about that at the regular meeting. But I do want to remind you of what you ran on your campaign. It says, be respectful of all residents regardless. You okay, Tom? You all right? It says, be respectful of all
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
She's being respectful.
You okay over there?
I'm good.
It says, be respectful of all residents, regardless of their political affiliations. So, everyone knows I'm a Republican. Is that what your issue is with me? Because you clearly have an issue with me. You don't bring anybody else's name up but mine. I want to work with all of you, whether on the council, off the council, I always have. And that is something that the 3 of you need to learn. You need to learn how to work with everyone. You lack the ability to do that. That is not how we move a town forward, and that is not how we heal. And this town has a lot of healing to do. And what I witnessed the 3 of you act before, you are incapable of assisting this town to heal. That's number 1. Number 2, the fact that the mayor is trying to find a solution with an ad hoc committee. Excuse me, Gloria, what are you saying about me? The fact that the mayor is trying to put together an ad hoc committee. If he feels that's going to help us with our litigation on January 22nd, because the gentleman in the back of the room, I think it's Mr. Steinhagen, right? No, sorry,
He's a different one.
different guy,
From
sorry.
St.
The attorney was Betty Padavano. Thank you very much. That attorney wants to beat us in court on January 22nd. Do you understand what that means? So why would you want to be an obstructionist to stop the mayor from trying to find any way possible to strengthen our case starting on January 22nd? That is outrageous, to want to work against the borough's interests. And I will say to all of you, if something goes wrong on January 22nd, I will be holding the three of you responsible for what happens. Because besides this, and I'll be talking about it again at the regular meeting, what you put in your campaign literature horrifically compromises the borough's positions. You chose politics and your self-serving interests with the 800 Sylvan matter to win a campaign and work against the borough's interests. Don't laugh at it, it's not funny.
You're hysterical. I got that hysterical. You calling me a racist, a sexist, misogynist, and you got the nerve...
I
to
called
say
you a
that
racist?
In your campaign literature, it's all over the place. So,
We're
that
racist.
is...
I
You're
am-
talking about campaign stuff.
No, I'm talking right now,
Don't harass the residents,
I'm
please.
not harassing...
Well, you kind of are. You kind of are.
I'm just being
Please,
proud.
some decorum,
But it's
please.
okay. I'm allowed to laugh if I want, because that is just ridiculous.
All right, if you have to laugh, just leave then, and come back after you're done. After you're done.
I'm a happy person.
Well, because you're just making a joke out of
No,
yourself.
you're
Please, come on.
trying to intimidate me into not speaking.
All right, you stop harassing the
I'm
residents.
not harassing you right now. You want me to get technical?
I was talking about the 800 Sylvan matter. You're bringing something up totally different. I was talking about the ad hoc committee, which is what the mayor and the council was talking about, the creation of an ad hoc committee. So, I don't know why you're bringing up anything else. I just, it's disappointing to see that you think such serious matters are really that, no, they're not.
Okay, anybody else from the public wishing to be heard? Seeing and hearing no one, have a motion to close public portion.
One thing, Mayor.
Hold on,
the-
all in favor? Yes.
Thank you. Before we go into close, we need to identify the gentleman who's going to attend for the first three items on close for the record, because I don't know his name.
It's Thomas Troutner.
Can you spell that, please, Mayor?
Thomas Troutner, Troutner.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. Have a motion to go into closed session. All in favor? Madam Clerk, would you please read into the record the appropriate language for a closed session?
Resolution 18235, resolution authorizing closed session at meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. Whereas the mayor and council of the Borough of Englewood Cliffs have deemed it necessary to go into closed session to discuss certain confidential matters, and whereas the minutes of the closed session will remain confidential as permitted under the Open Public Meetings Act, or shall be released when there is no further need for confidentiality as authorized by the borough attorney. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council of the Borough of Englewood Cliffs will go into closed session for the following matters as permitted under the Open Public Meetings Act and JSA 10:4-12. Pending litigation regarding Borough of Englewood Cliffs affordable housing, 800 Sylvan Avenue LLC versus Borough of Englewood Cliffs Mayor, Council, and Planning Board, Builders Remedy Lawsuit, 800 Sylvan Avenue LLC Planning Board Builder Suit to challenge Planning Board denial. Number 4, Mura versus Borough and Chaffee, addendum to settlement and disability retirement. Number 5, Lavery docket versus Borough, potential settlement of L. Cohen claim for attorney fees. And item number 6, attorney-client advisory and deliberations, Michael Chaffee, insubordination, disciplinary charges of November 20, 2017.
Thank you.
We're still in caucus, everyone. We're going to finish off caucus and then go to the regular meeting. Welcome, sorry we are running late. Can I have a motion to come out of closed session, please?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. All right. Borough Council, would you like to add something?
Yes, just for members of the public as well as for council members, please mark on your agendas that I will be adding to or making wording to be included in the written resolutions. Number 237, appointment of co-counsel for the Affordable Housing and Ray Borough of Englewood Cliffs. I will be adding the information that will be included in the resolution. Item number 240, creation of an Affordable Housing Ad Hoc Committee. That's a resolution. I will be stating the contents of the resolution with some supplementary language. That's item 240. Item 249. I don't think we need to add anything, but the written resolution is not here. What the title says is what the written resolution will do. Approving and ratifying letter directly. With respect to item number 250, it is, you have just deliberated pursuant to law on those charges, and my understanding is that there will be a motion to accept the finding recommended by the hearing officer on the charge, and that there will be a modification to the penalty recommended by the hearing officer to decrease it. I will state that when we come to it, there will be a motion in a second. With respect to item number 251, we made a change earlier. That will be authorizing the preparation and service of charges. I will add to that before we do the vote, and then there will be a motion.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn the caucus? So moved.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. All right, thank you. Everybody ready for the regular meeting? Everybody good?